Hello, my name is Darby Allday, and I am the horticultural agent here at the UTTSU Giles County Extension Office. And today I'm going to talk to you about Christmas trees. It's the holiday season and Christmas is coming up, and a lot of people like to buy cut Christmas trees or live Christmas trees, and to make a memory and to have that tree that reminds them of what they're doing. So today I'm going to give you a couple of tips when you go to buy and what to do to keep them for as long as you possibly can. If you go and buy a cut Christmas tree, if you don't cut it yourself, then you're not for sure like how fresh it is. So one of the things that you need to do is grab a hold of one of the branches, and you'll kind of pull your fingers across it and see if you lose any needles. If you do, then you might be a little bit concerned about that, because that can tell you that the tree is kind of drying out. The other thing that you can do is you can pick the tree up just a couple of inches off the ground and lightly drop it back down and see how many needles fall around the tree. If there's not very many, then your tree is probably freshly cut and it's a good choice for you. But if it has a lot of needles that have fallen, you probably want to look for another one. Once you have decided on the one that you're going to take home, you want to make sure that it's going to fit into the space that you have. There's nothing worse than eyeballing one and saying, oh, that'll be the perfect one, and then taking it in, and then you have to cut the top out of the tree. So the best thing to do is to measure your space before you go, and then take the tape measure with you and measure the tree when you get there. The next thing is transporting home. If you can put it inside of your vehicle so that the air doesn't hit it, then that's probably the best thing to do. But if you can't do that, then you probably want to take some plastic or a cloth to wrap around it so that you keep from air drying your needles as you're transporting it. When you get it home, the first thing you want to do is take about a ½ inch off the base of the trunk of the tree and put it in warm water. If you're going to not be able to put it up right away, you want to make sure that you keep that tree moist and in water. If you're going to go ahead and just put it up, then you can do that ½ inch cut. Put it in a container that does hold water. The rule of thumb on watering your tree is that it needs a quart of water per inch of diameter. So a 4-inch diameter base of a tree would need a gallon of water a day. And a lot of times whenever you put those up, you put your tree up and you have all the presents around there and you have the tree skirt, and you're like, well, how do I water it without getting water everywhere? Well, one of the things that you can do is you can take a funnel and you can take a plastic pipe and you can tie it around the base of the tree into your container that you have your tree sitting into that holds water, and you can tie it up and put it to the back of the tree to where you can get to it easily and pour water into the funnel without having to move everything around and making a mess. But you do want to make sure that you keep that cut tree moist. If you let it dry out, then your needles are going to fall and it's not going to be as pretty. It also makes more of a fire hazard as your tree dries out. So you want to keep it away from heat sources such as stoves and heaters. You want to keep it off of your vent. You also want to watch what kind of lights you put on there. If you put the incandescent bulbs on there, they tend to put a lot more heat out. So you could be more prone to having fires with your trees there. If you take some of these steps right here, then you should be able to keep that live cut tree for about 5 weeks in the home. If you're thinking about doing a live Christmas tree, one that you can plant, then the very first thing you need to do is find a site that you can put it. This is not going to be a foundation plant. This is not one that you're going to have next to the house because they get really big, over 20 feet tall depending on which ones that you're going to use. So you need to find the place that you're going to put it and go ahead and dig your hole. And then you need to go out and pick the one that you're going to do. And you can either do a container plant or a B&B or a balled and burlap one. And so you're going to bring it home, and you've got to keep this moist. You don't want to keep it wet, but you do want to keep it moist. So when you put it in the house, then you can put it in a tub that'll hold water, or you can put wrap plastic around it and leave an opening at the top so that you can water it, and the water won't go onto your floors through the containers or through the burlap there. A good way to keep it watered is to take ice chips and place on top of the tree, or on top of the container, either the burlap or the container, and just let it melt and go in there. But it also needs about a quart of water per inch of diameter of your tree there. And on this one, your tree doesn't need to be in the house more than 7 to 10 days. So the earliest that you want to buy your tree is up to 2 weeks before you're going to plant it. One of the first things that you can do is you can take it, and until you're ready to put it up, you can keep it in a cool place. You want it in a cool place, not a cold place. So somewhere around 35 to 45 degrees is where you want to store that at. Then you bring it into the house for 7 to 10 days. 10 days is probably the max, because if you leave it more than that, then it tends to come out of winter dormancy. And if you bring it out of winter dormancy, then it's probably not going to survive when you put it back out into nature. And then whenever you pull it out of your house, you probably want to give it a couple of days to acclimate back to the cold weather outside, because you brought it in the house. It's been in a warm place, and you're fixing to put it back outside where it's probably cool. So you need to give it a couple of days to acclimate, and then you're going to plant it in your hole that you dug before you went and got your plant. You're going to make sure that you pack the soil in there and have no air pockets. And then you want to mulch it really well. You also want to water it deeply. And remember to water it consistently throughout the winter time. I know that they're not actively growing, but they still need water because they are a newly planted tree. And don't fertilize it until after the first year of growth. So if you have any questions, feel free to call us here at the UTTSU Extension Office at 931-363-3523.